Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles, coming to you from an altitude of 5,280 feet. Glad to have you tuned in, watching, whether recording on YouTube or iTunes or Stitcher or Facebook, whatever way you are watching or listening, or if it's on the Mile High app, which if you have not downloaded, please download so you can always catch all things Mile High Tick. And we look forward to seeing you join us at Mile High in September of 2023. And we're grateful to have as a guest here, Dr. Scott Kelley. Dr. Scott Kelley is a Logan grad of 2012, and he is the current president of the Chiropractic Society of Texas, which we will be discussing, which is an incredibly important principled organization focused on our values and principles. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Scott Kelley.
Thank you for having me. An absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here. And so, first of all, let's have people get to know you a little bit. We know you're the president of the Chiropractic Society, and we'd like to talk more about all the great things they're doing. And you're a graduate of Logan, as well as that you recently completed the Legion of Chiropractic Philosophers, the LCP program. That's all super exciting. I'm sure we'll be talking about philosophy points today. What I would like to know is, what people may not know is, how did you find yourself into the chiropractic world?
Certainly. First, DC in my family. To my knowledge, my parents had never been to a chiropractor prior to me starting chiropractic school. I firmly believe that you don't choose to become a chiropractor. Chiropractic chooses you. And senior in high school, folks said, what do you want to do with your life? You want to go out in the working world? You want to go to school? Just what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. I'd like to work for myself, work with my hands. I was thinking, sports medicine. I now realize that's not an actual thing. You just have healthcare professions that work with athletes, right? I was an athlete in high school and so forth. Mom randomly said, what about a chiropractor? And I don't know what they do. So she said, why don't you call one up and see if you can shadow one?
So your mom said, how about chiropractor?
Yeah.
And they hadn't been to one?
Correct.
Well, that's so interesting.
Yes. So I looked up a doc in my town, called him up, said, hi, my name's Scott Kelley. I'm a senior Carmel High School, and I'd like to come shadow you. And he said, that's fine. I need you to do two things. One, when we come in my office, dress up. Okay, I can do that. Two, go to my website, read about what a subluxation is. I was unfamiliar with said term, obviously not around the profession at all. Went to a website, brain body connection, interference in, i.e. subluxation. That's what chiropractors do. I said, okay, I can wrap my head around this concept. I show up at his office, have a pad, a pen. I watched him adjust for 2 hours. I didn't write down a thing. I was just in awe, mouth ajar, just.
Wow.
And afterwards, go in his office, says, you have any questions for me? I said, no, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. How do I get to do this? So went to, undergraduate, straight into Logan, and moved to Texas shortly thereafter. Now, time in undergrad, I forgot what a subluxation was. I read about it one time in high school. So fortunately, I joined a professional chiropractic fraternity in Tri 1 at Logan, Pi Kappa Chi, and that introduced me to the green books, subluxation-based chiropractic. Mm-hmm. What the why is, the why behind the what. And that was an absolute driver in my trajectory in the profession. That fully believe that. So,
you told me that your favorite quote is, the doctor of the future will give no medication, will interest patients in the care of the human frame, die and cause the prevention of disease, Tom Edison. That was on my refrigerator when I was in high school, because my mom was in chiropractic school at the time. And, I didn't quite have much of an understanding of chiropractic, even though she had just started school in high school. But that quote spoke to me as well. What do you love about that?
it's profound of when it was written, and it's talking about the future. And then as far as the we'll say westernized medicine has not gone that route whatsoever.
Right.
So just how profound it is that when it was said, and it still holds true, because it's not a sickness. I mean, it's not a healthcare system that we have as Western medicine. It's a sickness care system. Right. The money is in keeping people from dying, but not quite well.
Right.
For them.
Right.
So,
yep.
Which is frustrating. But when it says we get to be a light in that realm, is that we have something that no one else has.
And it gives us as a profession an incredible potential to thrive that a lot of chiropractors don't necessarily take advantage of in terms of their positioning and what they're sharing in terms of standing out on our principles and values, and as compared to fitting into a disease care model. We can be a shining light in that. What's your, now you mentioned the green books and getting introduced to them as a student, which is a great start to going down the path of learning our principles. Is there a favorite green book that you have, or one you recommend?
It's low hanging fruit for me. Bigness of the Fellow Within. It's right here. When reading the first chapter in there, the story of that something, that struck a chord, if you will, with me. As far as with some of the other ones, now not technically a green book, but Dr. Barge's contribution to the profession is vast. So for students and new docs, Are You the Doctor? Is a great read. And it's as simple as that and more. Again, another great read from his. And that takes, for those that don't know, it's as simple as that and more. It took a speech that BJ did and sort of expanded upon it, thus the and more. The speech that he did it's as simple as that. And really, really enjoy both of those ones, along with a number of the others.
Now you and so we should have those, put them on Dr. Kelley's reading list as a chiropractor. So now tell us about, you're in Texas, practice in San Antonio, adjustment subluxation focused practice, cash oriented direct pay practice. How did you end up down the road of being in the role of president of the Chiropractic Society of Texas?
Certainly. This is the third office I've been in. First office I've owned. Started in practice actually in Round Rock, Texas, about 2 hours north of here, just north of Austin. The doc there that owned that practice is a past president of the CST as well. He introduced me to the CST, and so that was 2014, and was an active member, just a dues paying member initially, and I'd attend our annual convention every year. And we need more folks to be involved. And I reached a point where it's like, I need to put my money where my mouth is. In this case, it's my time. And the members, well, they initially voted me as vice president, served as vice president for 2 years. And then they said, yep, we want you to step up one. And I did.
And why, not everybody's involved with their state organization. And why do you feel it's important for people to do so?
At a very minimum is to be a dues paying member. You don't have to get as involved as say I am. This is a way for me to get back to the profession. I love what I get to do every day. I love Mondays. They're fun. I get to see my people on Mondays. And so this is a way I can continue to do that and to give back. So at a minimum, if folks don't, if life is crazy, they have stuff going on, just be a dues paying member. That helps our principal state associations, because we can't do much without some type of funding. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. You have to have some money to have any type of impact or influence on what's going on in your state. And So as I said, at a very minimum, folks should at least be a member. And I know that not all states have a principal state association, so join the one next to you. If I have folks that are in Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico, and if their state associations are not doing what they want them to do, join mine. I'd love to have you. And so that's where it is for me. And I needed to do more.
Yeah, you needed an extra hobby. Well, here's, when I was in chiropractic school, I remember Tom Gilardi said at assemblies multiple times. I was at school at Sherman, and he multiple times he said, your state association dues are your rent. Consider them just like the power that you put on or your rent you pay for your office. It's not something that's optional, he would tell us, so you can have an influence. And a lot of the things of where we are as a profession is because of apathetic chiropractors in terms of involvement with their state and national organization. And as my friend Liam Schubel says, he says apathy leans to allopathy in chiropractic, and that's what's happened. And so the different groups really have taken over the state and national organizations and boards. And if you want to see any hope of the direction of the profession changing, we have to be involved in those things. So that means being dues paying members, and also going to the state organization events and supporting them. So you can't have a movement without gathering. Okay. You can't have a movement without having connection of shared values. And that can be through monthly meetings or district meetings or annual conventions. So you want to support and go to at least the annual convention of your group. And so you also have an annual convention coming up. And people talk very highly. I hear all the time how great the Chiropractic Society of Texas annual program is. Can you tell us about the one that's coming up?
Certainly. So it's a month away, March 3rd and 4th. So it's a Friday, Saturday event. For our Texas DCs, we'll get all of our required CEs. So in Texas, we need 16 hours every year. That's not the only reason that we have the convention. But if we're going to be getting together, we can make a dual purpose out of it. One, to get quality tick. Annually, we only bring principal chiropractors to speak, period. We're not going to be the attendees. There's not a new shiny that they're going to get sold, because I don't bring folks down that'll do that from the stage. If it's not principal tick, I'm not having it on my stage. And you were saying maybe one benefit of being the president is that I get to choose whom I get to listen to for CE, right? And I'm very, very excited. I think our lineup every year, like you mentioned, is great. We'll have so in Texas, we need 4 required hours in billing, coding, ethics, and documentation. So that's not the exciting stuff. So annually, we bring down Dr. Matt McCoy. He gets to do our required hours, and so we start with that. And it's like, yeah, let's hit the ground running. After that, some of our speakers this year, Dr. Monique Andrews. I know that she's been up at Mile High last couple of years, I believe. We have another previous Texas doc, Dr. Sean Powers. I believe she's out in California now, and she's actually she's doing a dual purpose for us. We do a CA training at our annual convention as well. So we recommend the whole office to come and make a whole weekend out of it. So as we're with Dr. McCoy, all of our CAs, including my CAs, will be with Dr. Powers. And then on day 2, Saturday, we have everybody together. So all the CAs join in with the DCs as well. Friday evening, we are going to have the lovely Dr. Rochelle Knowles.
Oh, I know her.
I'm very excited to have her come on down. And then the next day, we're going to have Dr. Rob Sennett and a Probably the speaker I'm potentially most excited about is Dr. Brad Polk. I don't know if you are familiar with Dr. Brad Polk. He is another DPHCS. So he's completed the diplomate in chiropractic philosophy. And we're very excited to have him. And then, as I mentioned, Dr. Monique Andrews as well. So I believe I've covered everybody with that. So I don't know of a better lineup that's jam-packed into 16 hours in 2 days.
That's phenomenal. And that's the interesting thing. Continuing education, it's something that we must do, and it's so much more fun when it's continuing education that you actually want to sit in on, as compared to information like Department of Transportation physicals, or other things. And if you're just doing it just to hit the hours, it's so much fun when it's actually information that you want to be at. Dr. Sean Powers is phenomenal. She was involved in Colorado politics way back when, because she used to practice here as well. And all your lineup, and obviously I'm a little bit biased towards Dr. Rochelle Knowles. She'll be outstanding, but these are all people that, are not just on stages, but they're people that are doing things to shift the profession. So that's really important. And you can tell a lot about an organization by who they choose to put on stage relative to promoting them. So I want to commend you and the Chiropractic Society of Texas for consistently doing that. I encourage people to go that. How can they register? How can they find out more about becoming a member of the Texas organization or joining that event?
Certainly. So our website is texaschiropractic.org. On the home screen, there's the registration link that takes you straight to our registration. You can register yourself and your CAs through that link right there. And I have been noted a couple times, if it doesn't pop up already, just hit refresh or shift refresh. For my docs and my members that return every year, it keeps a cookie, if you will, of last year. So it's going to say it's not there. Go ahead and shift refresh on that, and it'll bring up the registration for it. But texaschiropractic.org is our website for that.
And we'll put it in the notes with the podcast so you can grab that. You don't have to necessarily cause a subluxation while you're driving by writing, but we'll put it there. Now, the Legion of Chiropractic Philosophers, you completed that program. What was and a lot of people ask frequently about that program. Is it valuable? Why would I do that? What was something you gained during that LCP program?
So I'll talk about the confidence to knowledge curve. For those that are not familiar with the confidence to knowledge curve, you start off not knowing anything about a topic, and so you have no confidence on that topic. You start to learn a little bit and your confidence skyrockets on the topic. Then you realize, oh, wow, there's a lot to this, and your confidence drops down. And then you start to learn more, and it swings all the way back up. In regards to Stevenson's text, the 33 principles, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of it. Then I started really delving into this, and could I effectively communicate this to my members? And I understood it, and I knew it here, but could I translate it from here out my mouth? Not very effectively. That's why my initial draw to it is because I wanted more. And so one of the first things we did is we got to rewrite in our own words the 33 principles. So if you can't write it in your own words, you don't understand it. So my understanding now is said that knowledge and confidence curve, I'm really on that big upswing. You mentioned as far as like, how does that, with what's in it for me? How does that benefit me in my practice on a day-to-day basis? I'm an adjustment exclusive office. I don't say just adjustments because I think that devalues it. So it's adjustment exclusive.
I love that you delineate that, I just do chiropractic. Like that's like a limiting thing versus
right.
People say things like that, and it irks me all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I exclusively adjust. That ups the value of what we do. And in direct pay cash practice, if there's no value, nobody's going to pay. No one's going to come in. So in the office, whenever I get anything thrown at me, even a curveball thrown at me, I can lean back on our principles and really just give a very direct, short answer. They don't want to hear a dissertation from me, and I don't have the time to give a long-winded answer. So as far as the day-to-day practice for me, having a crystal clear understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, it helps my members. It gives them confidence in me that I'm strictly behind what we're doing and why they're there. Now, additionally, the LCP program, that's the first year of the diplomate in philosophic and chiropractic standards. So upon completion of either the ACP through Sherman or the LCP, that allows you to apply to do year 2 and year 3 of the DPHCS. Now, the LPC is there's one starting up very soon. So if you do want to get registered, you do it now. But 2024 and 25 is when the next start for the DPHCS will be. And I absolutely plan on attending that as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, in Texas, going back to there, there's been some politics and concerns that have happened over the last couple of years that I think it's good if people have an awareness of the things that you all have done in terms of that, so they can get inspired in terms of what they might even not even be aware of the things that happen in their own state. So what are some of the things that you guys maybe over the last 5 or 10 years or even more recent that were important to be aware of in your own state?
Certainly. Jumping back a couple of years, we can talk about the Choosing Wisely campaign that came out in regards to radiographs. For those that are watching behind me, that's my x-ray machine. I love doing talks and podcasts with that behind me because for me, it's standard of care, period. It is absolutely standard of care to get radiographs, spinographs to see what we're working with. And so the CST wrote a position paper in regards to that on the necessity of spinographs and radiographs in chiropractic. So there are just a little north of both of us up in Canada, there was restrictions placed on chiropractors that are practicing subluxation focused chiropractic and taking radiographs. If there wasn't a quote unquote red flag, I think a subluxation is a red flag. If there wasn't a quote unquote red flag, then you would not be allowed to utilize radiographs. It's not a line in the sand for me, it's chiseled into the concrete. That yes, that needs to be a part of our day-to-day practice. So that was something that we did a couple of years back. Most recently, as a part of for representing the CST, I attend the quarterly board meetings for our state board, for the licensing board. They are not exciting meetings. I closed my office really. I closed my office that day. I drive up to Austin and I attend those meetings. The last couple of meetings, I've given public comment on one of it's the Texas Occupational Code. This is our rules and regulations here in Texas, and specifically regarding licensure and education and testing for licensure. So we're talking about the NBCE. As far as education goes, we're talking about the CCE. And along with that, it's another organization called the FCLB. Now, my concern and the way the rule is currently written, Texas Occupational Code 72.3 subsection C, currently states that a potential licensee for the state of Texas needs to attend a CCE or CCEI accredited university. So the CCEI is just for the international aspects. This would be somebody attending New Zealand college and so forth and coming back to the States. The reason I have an issue with that, that's a monopoly. This is not me calling it that word. That's not Dr. Scott Kelley saying there's a monopoly. This is the Department of Education, one of their subcommittees calling it a monopoly. Right. There are currently about 34 states that have CCE only verbiage, which ours is one of them. And I'm not looking for the removal of the CCE. I'm looking for options. So the request that I had for the board is, one, to recognize that there is a monopoly with the way the rules are currently written. And secondary to that, join the 7 other states that have U.S. Department of Ed approved accrediting agency. So that's not specifically saying it has to be the CCE, which is the way our rule is currently written. Mm-hmm. Now, how could that potentially negatively impact licensees in Texas? What if the CCE loses their standing with the Department of Ed?
Right.
Does that mean that do we want licensees or potential licensees that attended a school that's not recognized by the U.S. Department of Ed? Mm-hmm. So that is a potential concern. I won't get into my other views on their meta-analysis on PT and so forth. Their meta-analysis 9 that came out last year, regarding PT and chiropractic. We have physical therapists in the United States. I don't think we need chiropractors doing that, but that's another, I could talk on that for too long, longer than we have today. So that has been our immediate focus, is just updating what I would call a outdated rule that could have potential negative impact on licensees in Texas.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to have you on the podcast so that people that listen or watch this, hopefully can, even if one gets inspired to show up at a few state board meetings and show up to be involved with their state organization, will make a difference. I mean, over the 25 years that we've been here, Rochelle and I, we have been engaged with conversations, meetings, board meetings, rulemaking meetings around them wanting to make the electromyograph unit that you use, whether it be Insight or MyoVision or those things, to be deemed experimental. They want to have care for kids be not without having a presenting symptom. They had times where they wanted X-rays only to be of the area of pain, and not be appropriate to take X-rays of things and other than the area of pain, which is certainly a challenge for your X-ray machine that you have right there, for example, right? And we had times when they wanted to make network be the practical way I practice to be experimental. You have to have someone sign a consent of that. And things along those lines happen over and over again in states. So you have to be engaged, or someone has to do, or a small crew of people to be aware, show up at the meetings, to be able to be aware of what's going on in terms of your state. And it's hard to do that when you're alone. Like if it was just Scott Kelley, he can't do that all by himself. He can, but it'll be exhausting. And, it's better when you have a team and you have an organization that can say, hey, we're the state organization and this is not good policy, because what happens is you have individuals on a board at some point, and the board is it's whoever's on the board, their values, and they'll say things like, this is the standard of care and people should know that. And Dr. Scott Kelley might look at a different set of standard of care documents than someone else, and then the people that happen to be on the board, because there's more than one standard of care document that's on in the profession. So when you have an organization that says, hey, this doesn't fly, this is how we practice, it makes a legal statement to the Attorney General of the state. And the Attorney General is not an enemy. They don't know what chiropractic is. They're not chiropractors. They just want to protect the public, and the board to protect the public. And if you go down the route of what people, whoever's on the board, it can create a significant problem, as we see state, countrywide, in the U.S. So I really want to applaud you for having that level of engagement.
Thank you kindly. As I said, it's absolute. It's a privilege that I get to do this.
Yeah.
It's a privilege that I get to see my people on Monday morning, and I want to ensure that I can maintain the practice the way that chiropractic is intended to be practiced. That's really what it comes down to, and that goes back to the principles, to practice principled subluxation focused chiropractic.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So now with that. you recently, you 2019 007 year, you came out to Mile High. You got to see us all dressed up as James Bond. What was what was your experience getting to go to Mile High?
Amazing, and I'll plan on attending this year. I had a couple. I was actually planning on attending last year. I had the plane tickets, everything, and unfortunately, it did not work out with my schedule. So I said I have plane tickets paid for from last year, and I plan on using them this year to come on up. So I'm very excited. As far as the number one memory from 007 Mile High 2019 is both of our good friends, Dr. Brian Dooley, and how he was able to incorporate all the titles from James Bond into a principled chiropractic talk. So the attendance you guys have is awesome. It's an energy filled room. The vendors you have are beautiful. As I said, I was going through the vendor area, and I was just like, hey, I know them. Hey, I know them. And so it really felt home away from home as far as for a convention to attend, as far as what we put on here in Texas. And we'll have some similar speakers. I had Dr. Dooley down here last year. He did 4 hours on the principles. It was awesome, and I appreciate him and what he does over at Sherman greatly. And yeah, so it is a wonderful event. If you've not made it up to Mile High, you need to. Period. That's end of story for me.
And thank you for saying that. And I appreciate that you're doing similar in the state of Texas, that you're having CE based on the principle, you're having CA training, and that's what we need to do in more states. So they're like hubs that people can get plugged into, other like-minded, like valued people, and also to content that actually is chiropractic.
Right.
And that's one of the things I notice about Mile High that people say over and over again is they know that the content's going to be phenomenal and focused on chiropractic. They love that the vendors are all, we don't allow vendors that are non-chiropractic vendors. And then on top of that they love the camaraderie and connection, because you can feel alone in your practice. And, you can feel like you're going against a cultural story, providing something different. It's great to have the community as well as for teams. I love that you're having teams at the program so that people know that because teams feel your CAs, it's great for them to feel like they're part of a bigger thing.
Absolutely. My CA mentioned from past years. I mean, she had a potential new practice member call the office, and they had a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. I don't have the time to answer those questions, but she has the confidence and knowledge to mm-hmm. answer that, and spent about 12 to 15 minutes. That's a long phone call for our office. Mm-hmm. Able to answer any and all their questions, and had them scheduled to come in. Shelby followed it up with, if I didn't have what I gained last year at the CST CA training, I couldn't have answered her questions with as much confidence as I did. They're the first that folks get to experience as far as the office. First folks that they come in when they come in the office, first person that answers the phone. And if they don't have the conviction and be able to guide these people into your office, well, it's lives that won't be changed through principled chiropractic.
Right. Now, a lot of people have the perspective, and they may be either new to practice or they're not have what you were just talking about relative to chiropractic paraprofessionals that work in our offices, that they may not have confidence or certainty because they're walking into a new world. Think, well, you can't have a cash practice, so you can't do just chiropractic. I use that word intentionally there. That you have to do something in addition. People aren't going to come in for things other than to get their pain to go away. What's your experience around these kinds of things in practice for years?
Mm-hmm. I heard that in school as well, that you can't do that. I said, oh, okay. I'm living proof of it now. And I am familiar with the insurance world. When I was an associate, I was in an insurance practices was a bit mix of cash and insurance. From that experience, I learned I absolutely never want to do that again. And so I don't. As far as pain, I don't talk about it. I mean, when folks come in for their initial consult, yes, they're going to tell me what's going on. They write on their paperwork. I review their paperwork. And one of the first things I say is, look, I'm not treating any signs and or symptoms. My job is exclusively to locate a subluxation to the best of my ability, correct it to the best of my ability, get the hell out of the way, and let your body heal itself. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to address aspects that you're coming in for, but it's not my driving force. So when you have awesome results, I don't take credit for that. I can't do any healing in you. The only person I can heal is me, as long as I have no interference. That's the only way it happens. So as they start to get an understanding of what chiropractic is and chiropractic is not, I'll have a lot of fun. I don't talk about pain and discomfort. Follow-up visits, no. It's anything new for me to know, face down. Let's get to work. And so, yes, you can practice a subluxation focused, direct pay, cash practice extremely ethically. I'm not saying I'm going to be doing anything that's out of my scope, because I can't do anything out of the scope, because for me, my scope of practice is the location, analyzation, and correction of vertebral subluxation. That's it. That's everything.
And that's more than enough.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's as simple as that. So to quote BJ just a bit ago.
One time at Mile High, Michael Viscarelli said something from the stage that was really powerful that I really appreciated, which is that, that we practice, he said something, I'm going to paraphrase, it was something to the effect of that we practice principled chiropractic. That is our unique selling proposition. That's all that we do, because people can't find that. That stands out. It makes you unique. And he went on a direction of that. And people see it as you're doing less as compared to realizing that you can position it. And I mean, it's truthful positioning, that you are doing something more that they really can't get, sadly, in many chiropractic offices. So that can make you an exceptional practitioner and actually stand out above the rest and even be able to charge more, because it's a service that they can't get in many offices.
Oh, absolutely. And another beautiful thing, I know what happens in my office. I don't know what happens in other offices, but I tell every potential practice member my visit frequency. I tell them how often I get checked. And for me, that's weekly. I've attempted to go to every other week. That just doesn't work well for me. It's not that I present with signs and or symptoms. I just don't have the high frequency that I expect for myself. So I think it's vitally important to let them know that I get checked too, not by myself. I have 4 chiropractors. I'm my primary chiropractor and 3 backups in case he's out of town, because I take my frequency very seriously.
So, well, I really appreciate the lighthouse you are being in the state of Texas for chiropractic, and we need more lighthouses around the world relative to what you're doing in your office, as well as politics and community for chiropractors. So truly thank you for being that. Much appreciated, because I love seeing that. Is there any last thing that you would like to share with our audience?
2. One, obviously, our annual convention is coming up next month, the first weekend of the month, Friday, Saturday, March 3rd and 4th. There's still time and savings. Price is going to go up in about 11 days. So if you do want to save a little money for registering early, you can still do that. And again, if your state does not have a principal state association, join the one next to it.
Excellent. And you can join just to support, even if you're not next to it. just because these organizations need revenue to have the impact and influence that they would like to have. So again, Dr. Scott Kelley, thank you so much for lifting up the principal in the state and lifting up the reins of the organization to have a bigger impact. Very much appreciate that. Dr. Rashawn, I know, is excited to be at the CST convention in March. Where texaschiropractic.org. We'll put the convention link in there. I encourage people to be there, and we're also grateful that you will be at Mile High, as well as many other people from other state organizations. So thank you for the impact that you're having.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me on the podcast this morning. Always good to see your face.
Thank you. And I hope people understand that they learn from this that it's important to impact chiropractic beyond the four walls of your office. That's vital if we're going to move the movement of true chiropractic forward and around the world. So again, thank you so much. And everyone, make sure you dial in to your calendar to be at Mile High September 21st to 24th, riseuptomilehigh.com. There's nowhere else that you want to be in September other than on higher ground with us at Mile High. We look forward to seeing you there, and keep changing spines and lives and minds with chiropractic.